I wonder what I would do if one day I had superpowers? This question worried many, like our main character, but he has a chance to get real superpowers. Shinram Station, a guy, Kim-san, enters the arriving train. That's the name of our main character. Skinny, short, black-haired introvert, studying at a high school in Nanju. He likes to read manhwa, where he prefers charismatic villains rather than pious main characters. Yesterday, this inconspicuous guy got superpowers. A week ago, on behalf of the main character, Jun Saab and I were walking home from school and thinking about what to do when suddenly we were called. It was a gang from Tiyong school. For fun, they started beating us to death. Thinking I was going to die, I grabbed some garbage and threw it at them. As a result, the scumbag I got into wanted to make me eat it. I tried to resist, but the forces were not equal. After swallowing this ball, I don't remember anything. I only remember that I suffered all this time knowing that no one would help me because I am an orphan. A week later, on behalf of the main character, when I woke up, I felt that there was a desert in my mouth. Opening the refrigerator, I found only a Coke. After drinking it, I remembered about those assholes who beat us up. Out of anger, I clenched my fist and threw the clenched jar to the side, not noticing how much it was crumpled. I went to get water, went outside, where I got angry again. Remembering those freaks, I hit a pole nearby. Boom. I was very surprised by my strength. There was a decent hole on the pole. Crack. Unable to withstand the weight of the lamp, he fell, cutting off the power supply system. The screams of angry residents began, because of which I ran away from the scene. Not understanding what was going on, I ran home, where I began to think about my new strength. When I saw the jar near the trash can, I was surprised by its shape. I took a coin to test my strength. Fuck. It's crazy. I crumpled it up like a piece of paper. So my experiments began with renewed vigor. I've tried a lot of things. Tear up an entire book? Easy. Break the frying pan? Easy as pie. Suddenly I had a crazy idea. With super strength, do I have invulnerability? I took a kitchen knife and hit the other hand with all my might. Bam. The knife broke. I don't understand how I got superpowers. I went to the roof to find out my limit. I wanted to find out how high I could jump. And jump. I started to feel that I was getting hot because of the high speed. I could not open my eyes. Finally, the impulse went out and I stopped. Opening my eyes, I looked around. What? Suddenly I was in space. Suddenly I realized that I was starting to fall. After a while I landed in some desert in China. Bam. The landing was not pleasant. I don't remember how many days I lay unconscious, but I remember exactly how it seemed to me that every bone in my body was broken. When I woke up, I examined myself and found myself completely unharmed. I was able to get home very easily. I just need to run fast. Kim-san's house. Kim-san was lying on the couch and watching TV, switching channels. He came across a channel with an interview of the hero. The hero talked about protecting citizens and catching villains. Cheers of joyful people were heard, but the main character did not see anything special in him. In his opinion, this hero is a simple show-off because the villain he caught sucks. In Kim-san's mind, if he had become a villain, he would have done it better than him. Suddenly he realized one thing. He can become a villain himself. With his superpower he would be a cool and attractive villain. In comics, according to the plot, the villains are rich and charismatic, and the heroes are always dealing with problems and getting from the antagonists. The guy became more confident in his decision after reading the manhwa. I will definitely become a villain, said Kim-sang with a frightening smile on his face. High school, Kim-sang was sitting in class and bored. It's been 3 days since he decided to become a villain. He was determined, but he didn't know where to start and what to do. His fuse was slowly going out, and he was thinking about becoming a hero. The bell rang. Jun Saab came up to him to ask about his condition and absenteeism. The guy started telling how he would beat these jerks. If they fought honestly, then he would beat them, to which the main character accused his friend of bragging and lying. Their conversation was interrupted by Lee Jae-yoon, a girl who likes Kim-sang. She asked about his absenteeism and whether he had become a slacker. Jun Sob was outraged by her neglect of him, to which she hugged him. At this moment, the main character stammered that he was busy praising her beauty in his thoughts. Lee Jae-yoon said that Kim Sang would not miss lessons and she would keep an eye on him, left. Jun Sob said Jae-yoon has a cute face, but she's a kid. He asked his friend about her seduction. From these words, anger filled Kim Sang, to which Jun Sob laughed, saying that every dog in the area knows about the feelings of the protagonist to her. Their conversation was interrupted again, but it was already third-year students who collect money from students every week. Kim Sang didn't like it all, which made him angry again. After they took the money from Jae-yoon, the main character told them to get out of here, but the third-year students did not hear him. One of them put his hand on Kim Sang's shoulder and asked what he said. The main character was scared of this and could not repeat what was said normally. Confused, he just handed over the money, after which they left. One of them hit Kim Sang and said he would keep an eye on him. Worried about Jun Sob, after they left, he asked if everything was fine with Kim Sang and threatened the high school students that they would meet again, although he did not tell them anything when collecting money. After school, Kim Sang sits on a bench and thinks about what happened. With his strength he can erase stones into powder and their skulls would split once or twice. But he couldn't do anything because even with such strength inside, he didn't change. He's still the same coward who was afraid even of these punks, whether he could change. The main character began to think about today's collection of money, collecting money. For sure, he can start to engage in extortion, but because of his character, he began to think about the ethical side of the issue. It's somehow wrong to take money from ordinary people, but he decided that he would take it from that school gang because they took this money from others anyway. Kim Sang's house, Kim Sang was sitting at the table and making something. It was his new mask. After finishing, the joyful guy began to praise his work and even gave a name to the mask, but soon blushed from this. Kim Sang decided to check his work and put a mask on his face, but everything turned out to be not as joyful as he imagined, with the slightest movements it tore. Being in a desperate situation, in the end he decided to just put on a medical mask. Every day, Kim Sang made circles around the Taeyong school, but he could not catch them in full force. Sometimes meeting with other bandits, he decided to take money from them, but seeing their faces, he ran away from fear. It was the second week of the main character's festivities. During all this time he could not rob anyone, but he was very proud of himself, as if he had already become someone significant. During this time, he had already gotten used to their disgusting faces, but he was still afraid to stand next to them. He decided that he could find someone simpler when he saw two students in the dark school uniform of the Taeyong school, who were not so scary. Trying to gather his strength, looking in the mirror, he began to repeat to himself that he could. In the alley, two Taeyong school students were standing in the alley and talking about their antics. One had red hair, the other yellow. When suddenly they were called out, it was our main character. He threatened them to give their money, and for every 10 that he finds, he will beat them. From such a speech, Kim Sang blushed with embarrassment, but the two bandits ignored everything. They thought they were being accosted by some kind of psycho and started digging into Kim Sang. The confused protagonist tried to pull himself together, but the bandits began to extort money from him. One of them was about to hit the main character when someone stopped his hand. It turned out to be the hero whose interview San had seen on TV, the hero of Respol. Usually he does not deal with childish disassembly, another person does it, but in this case he could not pass by. The same alley, Respol advised the bandits to go home, to which the red-haired man took out a knife, saying that the heroes are the same ordinary people. Kim Sang remembered that he had seen this hero on the news. Respol was surprised by this, but did not get confused. He said that children nowadays have completely strayed from their hands since they carry knives with them. A bandit with a knife, saying that he was not joking, rushed at the hero, to which he snapped the blade of the knife into pieces. Surprised by this, the bandit lost touch with reality and did not expect a blow from the hero, after which he flew a couple of meters back. At first, Respol wanted to pull jokes on them, but the attempted murder changed his decision. The yellow-haired man, who was afraid of such a force, was taken aback to which the hero told him to take his friend and roll home, advising him not to use a knife during a fight. To which the schoolboy, angry, shouted that they would not just leave it, but after the evil look of the hero, he abruptly began to praise him. After the departure of the two bandits, Rispol complained about the current children and said it was time to amend the law on minors. When the two of them left, it was Kim-san's turn. Rispol asked what he was going to do. He said that if our main character wants to do such things, then he needs to gain strength, but Rispol does not advise him to become a bandit. After the hero's departure, Kim-san was twisted with anger. He promised himself that he would rather die than receive help from the hero. He realized that no matter how strong he was, he remained a pathetic coward. A sense of shame engulfed San. He was disappointed in himself and very angry at his own weakness. This was the first time he had experienced such intense anger. Suddenly, his inner voice spoke to him. He pushed the guy to kill. He asked San why he was putting up with all this. It was easier to just kill than wait, why he was wasting such a huge force. An inner voice asked Kim-san if he was afraid. He said that he would help him and do everything himself. At the same time, a group of schoolchildren was walking through the alley. They were discussing what plans when one of them noticed Kim-san, who was kneeling and holding his head. The young man who noticed San introduced himself as Song Chan-yel, asking who our main character was and not getting an answer. He got angry. They thought that he was not responding because he was beaten, while the inner voice of San provoked him. Chan-yel picked up a metal stick and was about to hit San with it, but the voice in San's head was pushing him to kill these scum. San did not want to go to the murder, but the voice did not stop. He could not stand it. He got angry and hit Chang Yi, who fell under the hot hand, tearing off his arm. The main character did not understand what happened, like the victim himself. He did not understand where his arm was, but he began to feel pain in his shoulder. Unable to withstand the painful shock, he fell dead into a puddle of his blood. Friends of the deceased began to run away, calling Kim-san a monster and a murderer. After everything that happened, the main character began to realize what he had just done, namely, killed a man. Unable to withstand this, he ran away from the scene of the crime. News: yesterday, in one of the alleys of the Sinchon district, the body of a young man was found. The age of the deceased was 18 years old. The victim was Song Jang-yel, the second year of Jangyun High School. Approximate time of death: 10 minutes past 11. A morgue, a man in a doctor's gown told about the incident. The criminal cut off the victim's right hand, after which the student died as a result of acute blood loss and traumatic shock. The hand was cut off with a sharp object, presumably an axe. Rispol, who was told this, blamed himself for the fact that the crime occurred in the place where he was doing his rounds yesterday. He understood that the hand was not cut off with a sharp object because eyewitnesses testified that the criminal did it with his bare hands. According to them, he was incredibly strong and ferocious. To which the doctor was indignant and said that it was impossible, but he was sure of it because the witnesses were there with him. He knew several people who could do it. The doctor apparently also knew them, but he just said they. He assumed that an evil hand was involved because a simple person is not capable of such a thing. Another man in a bathrobe said that the criminal was wearing a mask and asked if Rispol knew of such. The hero began to suspect Kim-san because he saw him in a mask on the day of the crime, but he did not know what happened after he left. Rispol said goodbye to the doctor and left to meet with them. Somewhere on the street, people were peacefully going about their business. The weather was fine outside when suddenly there was an explosion. Uncomprehending people saw an evil hand in the dissipated smoke. It was a huge fanged purple villain. With quick movements he pierced the man next to him through with his hand. People began to run away in panic, but the evil hand was not alone. There was another big gray-skinned villain with him, dressed in a yellow mask, underpants, boots, and gloves. The fleeing people noticed a man who did not run away from the villains, but specifically walked in their direction. It turned out to be the hero Hanel, dressed in casual clothes and glasses. The evil hand noticed a man who was taking off his clothes and recognizing in him Hanel, the strongest man on the planet, jumped away from him as if scalded. The purple villain said he wanted to check out the rumors, which say that unlike an ordinary person, he is incredibly strong. Not surprised by this behavior, the hero said that the villain would check them in any case. He began to insult the evil hand, provoking him. The monster could not stand the ridicule in his direction and jumped on Hanel, to which he formed a lightning bolt in his hand and cut the villain into two parts. Seeing this, Seum, the fiery devil, the second villain, rushed at the hero, to which he called Sohwansel, the spirit of the Holy Virgin, with the help of some kind of talisman. The villain of the size, which was like the hand of this maiden, was just swatted like a mosquito, after which he disappeared. People who saw their idol and how he easily coped with the villains surrounded him and began to praise him. The embarrassed hero, who was asked to take a picture of his little fan, could not refuse. After that, the girl asked the hero if he would marry her when she grew up, to which the confused Hanel jokingly replied that he would be only glad. Suddenly, people began to ask for a photo in a crowd. A man in a suit and dark glasses saved him, saying that they were calling him and it was urgent. Picking up the phone, Hanel heard the voice of Respol, who told him about yesterday's incident and asked him to gather all the heroes tonight. Gregori is a team of the strongest heroes, dominating all other teams on Earth. The headquarters of the Gregori team, Respol, told about the crime and its details, from which it can be concluded that someone is now committing atrocities that they still did not know about. Bloody Lynx is a member of the Gregori team. I thought why they were all called. It turned out that because of the death of a high school student, he asked if high school students could not cut off another's hand in their time. To which Masterjan, also a member of the Gregori team, said that if Respol had gathered them all here, then it was a serious matter. Respol explained that the victim's hand was not just cut off, it was literally torn off with his bare hands. Even he is not capable of such a thing. Hearing this, the heroes were surprised. The Russian Blue, breed of cats, a member of the Gregori team, said that if Respol is not capable of this, then there is nothing to think about the other heroes, they would not be able to create such a thing. Respol said that of all the heroes that he knows, only the cat and Hanel have enough strength for this. The Lynx was indignant. He asked Respol that he thought if he could not, then the Lynx would not have mastered. The hero stood in a stupor from such a question, but when he woke up, he said that naturally the Lynx would not have been able to do such a thing. The offended Bloody Lynx asked how long he had been receiving Respol for something. He decided to further anger his teammate. Esther, a member of the Gregori team, who saw their quarrels every Friday, compared them to her grandfather and father who fought drunkenly. Their quarrel was interrupted by a cat asking where to find Dark and whether they could entrust this matter to her. According to Respol, she is skipping the meeting again. Perhaps somewhere in a dark alley she is wedding criminals. Hanel concluded that now a man with incredible superpowers appeared on their territory. It could be a hero or a powerful villain. Kim-san's house. From the first person of Kim-san, I was sitting on the bed with my legs hugged and thinking about the recent murder of a man. I saw the news where Chan was shown, but I was absolutely not tormented by guilt. Suddenly some voice spoke in my head. He started telling me that I did the right thing. I don't have to be afraid, because I can kill everyone who gets in my way. This is my essence. Something got stuck in my head, and I changed. A month has passed since the murder, from the first person of Kim-san. Lately I have been skipping classes and continuing to wander around the district in order to take money from someone. I don't feel guilty about that incident, and so far everything is going well for me. Now I am not afraid of these disgusting faces of Gopnik. Suddenly I saw two guys who were sitting in an alley. I decided to approach them, called out to them, and coming closer, one of them decided to hit me, but I calmly dodged and hit him in the jaw. Previously, I would have been scared of him, but now I don't care. It may be because of how often I began to see them. I didn't meet anyone except Gopnik. I regularly take money from them. I should have thought of this earlier. I'm in a surprisingly good mood. I was thinking about living in this way and expanding such a business when suddenly someone called out to me. It was Jae-yoon. She asked what I was doing here, to which I removed the mask from my face out of harm's way. I decided to change the subject and asked what she was doing here. She said she was worried about me because I haven't been going to school for a day. Seeing me safe and sound, she drew attention to the thing in my hands. I told her that there was nothing there. When asked why I don't go to school since I'm not sick and the message that she came to me, I was surprised and thought that the teacher asked her, but it was not so. Suddenly a fist flew into my face. It was Jae-yoon. She covered her face with her other hand and laughed, then hit me several times. It was very fast, then threatened that I was a corpse if I skipped again. After my beating, she smiled and said that if I understood, then she would go, and I had to come tomorrow, all beaten up. I said that I understood everything and offered to accompany her, although with such a heavy fist she herself would get home perfectly. Refusing and saying that she was no longer small, Jae-yoon left, and I could not say that I was seeing her off. Kim-san's house. Kim-san was lying in bed and thought that because of all these events he had completely forgotten about school. He wondered if he needed a school at all, but remembering that Jae-yoon told him, his answer was yes, he must come. High school in Nanju. San walking down the corridor was called by his friend Jun Saab. He asked about the absence of his friend. The main character said that he was busy with business, to which his friend started talking about San's lies, because for sure he just started an anime marathon. Arguing, they reached the classroom door. Opening it, Kim Sang's love saw them. Jae-yoon was glad to see him and hurried him. Suddenly someone shouted for everyone to sit down. It was the third-year students who came to collect tribute, but this time the main character has changed a little.
A school in Nanju. One of them shouted for everyone to sit in their seats for a more convenient gathering. Kim Sang forgot all about it. But he didn't sweat it. Because he was already different, he himself became a predator. A third-year student with short hair, who apparently was their leader, told everyone to get 501, adding that it was quite a bit. He hurried people because it was not the only class from which they collect money. While they surrounded Jun Soba, the main character compared himself to the present with the past. He noticed that he was not afraid of them at all, because he had already seen enough of these bandit faces. When it came to Kim San's turn, he decided to act out a scene. Rummaging through his pockets, he said that he had nothing to pay with. The schoolboy who ordered everyone to sit down got angry and hit the main character. He believed that he was mocking them. The one who came to take the money from Kim Sang remembered him and the incident that he caused. San tried to restrain the anger that came from the realization that he was slapped by a man who was absolutely nothing. An inner voice began to incite him again, telling him to kill an unpleasant person. While Kim Sang was restraining himself, one of the third-year students approached the suicide bomber to ask about what had happened, to which he waved off and said that they needed to go to the next class, threatening the rebel. Kim San asked the already departing third-year students where he should wait for them. The leader, who did not understand the question, asked the main character again. He was not afraid to repeat his question. Jun Saab, dumbfounded, like the whole class by San's behavior, began to ask him to apologize. The third-year student again decided to threaten Kim San with a question about what he had said. In response, the main character wants to know if he is hearing problems, asking where to wait for them. The enraged leader wants to hit San again. But the suicide bomber is saved by a ringing bell. The third-year students were alarmed, fearing that they would fly from Taejin. After telling Kim San to wait for him after school, the leader received a humiliating response. The humiliated third-year student began to threaten the main character, but he was interrupted by the teacher who kicked those out of the office. Leaving, he said that San should stay in the classroom after lessons, otherwise he would pursue him until he caught and killed himself. The third-year students left under the teacher's shout. When they left the office, Jun Saab ran up to San in a sweat asking if he had any problems with his head, to which the main character calmly said that he would fulfill the requirements of the suicide bomber. At the same time, Lee Ji-yoon was worried about Kim San, but kept silent. During the lesson, Kim Sang thought about what he had said and whether he had overdone it because he could be revealed, but thoughts about how he looked in his eyes, Ji-yoon dispelled these thoughts. After school, Lee Ji-yoon told San about his escape, but the culprit of her experiences did not understand the reasons for the escape. Shocked by such an answer, she did not give up trying to convince a classmate, as San himself did not worry about this at all. Not understanding the main character's train of thought, she wanted to know if he was going to fight, because, in her opinion, he was behaving like a little boy now and she was ashamed of it. These words hurt Kim San and he tried to justify himself to the girl he liked. Their conversation was interrupted by the third-year students who who were surprised at the fearlessness of the main character. Ji-yoon tried to save a wayward friend to the last, threatening to tell everything to the teacher, but they didn't care about her threats. They called San to come out with them. Kim-san tried to calm Lee Ji-yoon by saying that he would not fight, to which the bandits said that he would not have to because they would beat him themselves. The words of the protagonist did not calm the girl, but she was powerless in this situation. Kim-san left with 3 third-year students. On the roof of the school, they went to the roof of the educational institution where there were already 2 schoolgirls who began to discuss San and his physique. They decided that they would join the beating of the main character, but the guys refused them, saying that they had a serious matter here. There were 6 people on the roof in total, 3 third-year students, 2 apparently their classmates and me. A bandit with short hair asked about San's behavior in class, to which he joked. The third-year students sensed the victim and how the predators pounced on the prey. The schoolboy, who was rude to the main character, hit him in the face, adding that they had come here for a joke and if he did not start talking about the case, he would knock out all his teeth, after which he hit Kim-san in the stomach. They began to tell the lying San about his disobedience to them and his behavior not according to concepts. The girls who saw it wanted to join the beating. At the same time, in the thoughts of the main character, how infuriating it is, suddenly the inner monster woke up again. He asked why San tolerates this. What is he doing? He just needs to kill them. Maybe it's true to kill them all? On the roof of the school, on behalf of the main character, but how dare they touch me, these scum? The urge of anger awakened an inner voice. But I decided to end everything on a peaceful note, standing up and apologizing. I stretched out a hand of reconciliation, when my voice in my head pushed me to kill them all, trying to shut him up. I only received a statement about their murder, but this is not possible. Laughter was heard from my words. It was the laughter of my inner monster, trying to find out the reason for his behavior. I received an answer in the form of the fact of my murder. While I was in shock and realizing this fact, the guy with short hair decided to beat me even harder. He hit me in the face with the words that I did not understand what was happening. When I got over the shock and agreed with this voice, I grabbed his hand and the thought flashed through my head, and what if I squeezed it harder? Despite his screams, threats and blows, I unknowingly did it and realized what was happening. I just thought about it. I didn't want to. Seeing the condition of his friend, 2 other guys attacked me trying to beat me, but they didn't work out. I didn't feel the force of their blows at all. Not being able to tolerate it anymore, I kicked the leg of one of them. In the end, his bones couldn't stand it and broke when 2 of the 3 were lying on the ground. The third tried something to say, but could not utter a word. Turning to face him, I slapped him in the face. He tried to stop me, but I continued. The blow, the enemy's skull was covered with cracks. 3 of them were lying on the ground. The third-year-old who started this mess asked who I was and what I was doing, but when I got closer to him, he started muttering about forgiveness, but I didn't care and I didn't stop there. I also beat those girls who were standing with us on the roof. The emergency department, 3 were lying on their beds and moaning in pain. One of them offered to call Tae-jin. A patient with a broken arm answered him about the inaction in this situation mentioned. A guy with a completely bandaged head just mumbled something. The guy with a broken leg brought up this topic again. Because they did not collect all the money and if their saint son finds out about it, to which one of them vaguely agreed. The schoolboy with short hair replied that there would be no problems with Tae-jin, and if the saint found out, they would be screwed for not doing the job. Suddenly, the door to the ward opened. A blonde man in a black turtleneck and a blue jacket walked into the aisle. It was a first-year student of Yongsan High School, Young Tae-jin, calling 3 disabled patients and asking what they were doing here. He received incomprehensible mutterings about someone in response. After the incident was explained to him, he told them to rest and recover. When Tae-jin was about to leave, a short-haired man called out to him and warned him not to even try to avenge them. Did not understand the reason for his words. Young Tae-jin asked about her in response. The patient, who was trembling from the memories of Kim-san, said that this kid is not a man, just a monster. Tae-jin began to compare the main character with a forest beast, but he was interrupted, saying that he did not realize the strength of the culprit of their condition. The first-year student, who still did not understand anything, told them to explain to him in a human way. to which he again received an answer about San's non-humanity and his incredible strength, from the words of this friend. The others began to tremble with fear, seeing this. Tae-jin pondered. Evening, two guys were walking down the street talking. It was Tae-jin and another one whose name we don't know, but he had brown hair and glasses. He was wearing a Yongsan school uniform. An unknown guy decided to find out from Tae-jin what he was going to do with that scumbag, but he didn't understand who he was talking about. When the bespectacled guy clarified that he meant the guy who beat up their people, Tae-jin said that he was crazy, because it's obvious that if he goes to take revenge, that type of all bones he will be counted. But the brown-haired man did not understand this, because Jeong Tae-jin is the thunderstorm of the Sindorim district. Tae-jin explained to the naive boy that if this madman sent 3 guys to the hospital, and Young Sheik had a broken femur, then how could he cope with him alone? Having understood the situation, the bespectacled man lagged behind him. And what if the thunderstorm of the Sindorim district suggested that he had superpowers? Suddenly Tae-jin was called out. An annoyed Jin turned around and saw his son Nim, a student of Yongsan High School, a gang leader, a third-year Chun Jong-soo, and immediately calmed down. He wanted to know what these jerks were doing here. When a nervous Chai-jin greeted him, he asked if he knew what the day was yesterday. The first-year student immediately replied that it was a fundraising day and added that they had a small problem, but they would quickly sort it out. Interrupting his subordinate with a blow, Young-soo said that he was completely relaxed and whether he was living well. The embittered Tae-jin apologized to his son B. When Young-soo told him to have the money tomorrow, because he had spent almost everything, Tae-jin apologized again. When Young-soo was leaving, the 2 guys said goodbye to him, to which the gang leader's escort scoffed at them, telling them to work harder. When they disappeared in the distance, Tae-jin growled his teeth that if it wasn't for Sunbi, he would have beaten this escort, and he was tired of Sunbi himself. He already wants to give up everything and leave. But the bespectacled man began to dissuade him, because if he left, Jmyong-soo would give so much that it wouldn't seem enough. Tae-jin was ashamed of his current situation. If he had a strong ally, he would not be in such a situation. Suddenly Tae-jin came up with an entertaining idea. He remembered about that madman. The thunderstorm of the Sindorim district laughed. The bespectacled man, who did not understand anything, asked what he was up to. Tae-jin told Tom that if he manages to settle one thing, it won't be difficult for him to bring high school students to their knees. The next day, high school in Nanju, Kim Sang said goodbye to Jun Sob and went home. On the way he was thinking who he should rob today. Suddenly he came across 2 students of the Yongsan school. It was Tae-jin and his bespectacled ward. Tae-jin asked San if he knew him. Kim San immediately recognized the thunderstorm of Sindorim, because he had heard about him more than once. Tae-jin is successful in everything. He fights well, studies well, and even handsome. He became famous in high school. The main character immediately thought that he had come because of that incident. After receiving a positive response, he immediately said that he also knew who Kim San was from Class F. He asked if San was the one who offended his friends. The main character asked if Tae-jin really came to take revenge. After receiving a negative answer, Kim San asked why he was looking for him. Without delaying for a long time, Tae-jin told the reason for his arrival. He wants him and San to unite and take over the Yongsan school. But suddenly he was refused and the main character was about to leave. Tae-jin, in a panic, began to list the advantages of their joint work, and when it came to money, San stopped. Kim San wants to be a villain, and a real villain should always have money. Besides, he does not have to wander around the city at night in search of gangs. Realizing that he hit the bullseye, Tae-jin began to lead their conversation in the right direction, but first they need to change the place of their conversation. A day, a cafe, 3 school children sat at a table and had a conversation. Tae-jin asked San how the plan for the conquest of the Yongsan school was, to which the incomprehensible San asked, since he was so good, why not do it alone? Why would he do it for this? Confused by such a question, Thunderstorm Sindorim quickly found the answer. It's all about Kim San's strength, because he can't compare with him in this aspect. To which San asked with skepticism in his words, isn't Tae-jin strong and how does he know what kind of power the main character has? To which the blonde suggested that San was a Superman, and by the reaction he realized that he had hit the spot. He asked why he was hiding it, to which Kim San translated the topic. He admitted that the plan was good, but they needed to clarify some points, namely, he would not obey anyone and would do what he wanted, to which the third, who had been silent until now, rudely spoke out in San's direction, to which Taejin shut him up and agreed to these conditions. He also offered him to become the head of their gang, as the strongest, but San quickly refused and said that it would be better to let Taejin be the head. When they shook hands, Sun was at a loss because Taejin guessed who he was, but since he was offering him money, he decided to accept. Nothing terrible will happen, right? The story of Chun Jong-soo. In fact, I was never particularly strong, but I was always greedy and with a nasty character. Actually, I was too lazy to live according to my conscience, as a good citizen, so I turned onto a slippery slope and became a bandit. I felt like a fish in water. I tried to win in a fight at all costs, because only the strongest survive in this world. The word defeat did not exist for me. And when I was in high school, I was such an authority that every dog knew me. I was the king. I liked being on top, and then I moved on to high school. Yongsan High School. On behalf of Jong-soo, I was walking with my guys when suddenly someone called me. He asked me if I was Chun Jong-soo and that I was famous. This Sunbi was a year older than us. At the first meeting he pissed me off with his dismissive greeting. When I asked who he was, he replied that the leader of the second-year gang was about Gitae. I heard about him. They said he was the son of some martial artist. He was not a bandit. He did everything fairly and lived according to his conscience. He had such an arrogant face, and I wanted to smack him. Unable to stand it, I will offer him a one-on-one duel, to which he agreed with a warning. He was strong. After the fight I was lying on the floor, and he was unharmed. It seems he also owned a martial art and was really strong. I tried my best, but it was still no use. I couldn't beat him. With a smile on his face, he offered me to eat noodles, and at that moment he seemed cool to me. Since then, we have been inseparable, and we didn't care about the age difference. Yoon cherished me. He liked me. He said he was impressed by my persistence and aggressiveness. We became friends. Yoon was easygoing and always behaved like a real man. A year later, the whole school was ours. We did what we wanted without any hesitation. It seemed like we had the whole world in our hands, however. We beat up some kid because he didn't want to give us his watch, saying that it was an heirloom. Later Hyung found out about it. He was very angry, saying that we had gone crazy creating lawlessness lately. He recently visited the police station because of the rumors that have been spreading lately, and all because of our actions. I decided to stand up for the guys, because I ordered them and I'm also to blame. He didn't want to admit that we were bandits. One of the guys accused Sunbi of rude behavior, after which he received a punch in the face. He beat him with the words that we did not understand that we were not bandits. I decided to reason with Yoon. I asked him a simple question: who are we if not bandits? Well, it's true. We don't study, we don't go to clubs, and we don't work. We only do what we fight and drink, and after that we are not bandits. Since Yoon doesn't want to admit it, I suggested that he fight, decide who is who, taking off his jacket and giving it to the person standing next to him. I told Yoon, either he or I, who wins, he will be the leader of the gang. I really like Sunbi, but his way of doing business has long been outdated. We are ordinary bandits and are interested in fights and entertainment. Yoon was angry at me and started looking for support among other gang members, but they all agreed with my words. I did so because of a few things. We are not those honest gangsters from the series. We did not have money like them, and lately everyone is whispering about us. Who will become the head of the gang? The loser would have to leave school. Yoon didn't agree with this condition. He didn't like this way to settle the situation, but I had a different vision. I decided to provoke him by calling him a coward and said that we would just fight without any additional conditions, and Yoon agreed. Soon the news of our fight spread, and Yoon decided to remember my loss a year ago. The roof, 2 school children were standing opposite each other, and those who wanted to capture it gathered around them. Gitae decided to remind Young-soo of his loss a year ago. Young-soo remembered these wonderful memories, to which Gitae decided to add new ones to him, and he also wanted to teach Young-soo a lesson. Young-soo and Gitae ran at each other with their fists raised to strike. Young-soo was confident of his victory this time and shouted that he would not yield to his Sunbi this time. At the same moment, on behalf of Jong-soo, I instinctively feel strong opponents. Maybe these are also superpowers. I feel how strong the opponent is, even just standing in front of him. When I saw Hyung a year ago, I knew that I would lose, and now, a year later, I understand that I am destined to lose. Yoon kicked me in the head and then I fell. People around started chanting Yoon's name, and my people started getting nervous. Yoon stressed that from that moment I became stronger, but I still don't reach his level, so I lost. He wanted to know why I started this, but I haven't lost yet. Yoon decided to help me in his own way, and I took advantage of it, taking out the rings I had prepared earlier and putting them on. I hit Yoon's kneecap, from which he fell holding his knee. I asked Yoon why he relaxed, because I haven't given up yet. There are many ways to defeat such a big guy. I told Yoon that this is not a hand-to-hand combat competition. In a fight between bandits, the one who stays on his feet to the end wins. I told Yoon, looking at the rings, that I bought this thing just in case. One blow and your bones break like matches. Yoon remained the same, offered to climb on his back after everything that happened. That's why I like Yoon. I made the last blow to Yoon's temple. After it there were indignations. One of the indignant came up to me and started rubbing that I was a coward. But I didn't get there. I hit him right in the nose, after which he fell to the floor. The indignation intensified, but I shouted, "I'm in charge of the fucking school now. I'm in charge, I am. If anyone has any objections, let them come out here, I'll figure it out. I'm going to kill everyone." After these words, the indignation stopped, and I asked Ju Yoon, who was getting a scolding from Oh Gi-tae, to take Yoon to the medical center. After that, the whole world became mine. Everyone in this school obeyed me. Soon I found out that Hyung had written a letter of resignation from school. It was expected, he did it for me. That's how Hyung was. As soon as he left, I stopped holding back and started breaking bad. Behind my back I was called garbage and a traitor, but standing in front of me, they all fell silent. I created a system of collecting money, and I destroyed all the rivals. Everything was easy for me, because there was no one stronger than Gi-tae in this school. I was the king. No one dared to contradict me. Everything was just perfect. But now I risk losing my throne. Currently, the roof. Young-soo was standing in shock from what was happening. Yo-yeon was next to him, and in front of him stood a calm Kim Sang and an excited Dae-jin. There were many unconscious bodies of schoolchildren around them.
5 minutes earlier, when Kim Sang and Tae-jin came to the roof and announced their intentions, a huge schoolboy decided to clarify whether he understood the information correctly. "Well, are you normal or what? Have you swallowed some pills, you fool? Repeat what you said, Tae-jin." My new partner was a little nervous but still decided. "From now on, this school belongs to us." I was standing in a stupor, not knowing what to do. So I decided to just keep quiet. Meanwhile, while the kings of the school were still talking. "Is it April Fool's Day? Or did you decide to prank us for no reason?" Tae-jin clearly lost his fear, or else he believed in me a lot, but his tone was confident. "What's the big deal? After all, you also took over this school in the second year of study. Why can't we?" But the three fake kings continued to mock. "Ahaha, well, actually. That's funny, ahahaha. And they seem to be serious, hahaha." During all this time, I haven't said even one word, but I had a lot of thoughts in my head. It's the first time I've seen high school students so close. Although nothing special, ordinary gopnik. I think I'm nervous after all. Is it because they're older? The flow of my thoughts was interrupted by these gopniks. "Who's the little guy? Are you running errands for Tae-jin?" "Yeah." They seem to have gone completely off the rails. Meanwhile, the big guy decided to ask his leader. "Well, what are you going to do, Young-soo? Will you rest? Should we figure it out ourselves?" It was clear from Jong-soo's look that his ass felt danger, and his thoughts were racing. Who is this guy? Who is he? I've never met him. Why was I seized with a chilling horror? Is that just me seeing? Is he even human or what? Apparently the leader of this gang still had some ability, at least, to feel the danger with his ass. This was confirmed by my silhouette in his head, as well as his thoughts. No, that's not even the point. If such a thing really existed, we'd all be screwed. My companions, or one might say servants, felt surprisingly confident. "Jeong-soo, yes, you rest. We'll sort it out ourselves." I tried to warn them that this could be a mistake. "What? Wait, this guy is dangerous. But my gang didn't listen to me anymore, apparently out of fear. My words weren't convincing enough. The whole crowd, the gang began to stretch their limbs, preparing for a fight. Young-soo, let us stretch a little too. Well, that's it, you're finished. Meanwhile, Tae-jin turned to Kim Sang, that is, to the main character Dignity. Well, I probably won't fight it. Can you handle it alone? My first words came out confidently. Yes, I can handle it. But still, at the last moment, doubts took over and I said in an uncertain tone. Perhaps. The fight is about to begin. The gangsters have come as close as possible. Suckers. Get ready, Jong Tae-jin. The genie himself had already moved behind me and threw me one last time. San, don't let me down. It seemed that Chan was already safe. If I lost, he would be able to quickly escape. But suddenly, more Gopnik appeared from behind. Come here, asshole. Where are you going, Tae-jin? Without thinking for a long time, apparently on instinct, I suddenly appeared in front of this Gopnik and sent him flying with a strong right-hand blow. A partition saved him from falling from the roof. A peculiar question mark appeared on the faces of each of this gang. What the? Who are you? What did you do? How did you do that? You threw him several meters away with one blow. Suddenly, everyone heard the trembling voice of leader Young-soo. To kill. But due to the fact that he was all cowardly from fear, all his subordinates did not hear what he said. What? Young-soo, what did you say? And at that moment, probably the whole city heard the voice of the leader of the Gopnik. I said kill him. Kill him quickly. He has to die. You'll hurt yourself to a pulp, but kill him. Apparently, the fearful qualities of the leader made it clear that soon, he would no longer be the king of the school. But Young-soo's scream became the starting point because after it, the whole gang attacked me and Tae-jin. And the leader continued active brain activity. I instinctively feel strong opponents. However, there are many options to kill someone who is stronger than you. Hyena is capable of killing a lion. That's just it. At this moment, Young-soo's face needed to be seen, no matter how much he wanted to, no matter what he thought, but the final thought made him realize his loss. The hyena can't defeat the dragon in any way. In less than a minute, the whole gang, except for the leader and the big guy, was lying on the floor and begging for mercy. Meanwhile, Tae-jin was already mocking. Well, I think that's enough. Hey you. Give up? I never thought that there were such loyal people in the gang of Gopnik, but the big guy standing next to the leader will see me. Ji-in-soo. Run. I'll buy you some time. What a monster. But this was not to come true, because as soon as he flew up to me within striking distance, the big guy had no more chances to escape. At that moment, I finally realized that I have no equal. With a confident tone and gait, I started walking towards Jeong-soo. Maybe enough already? And all that the former leader could do was tremble with fear. And of course, Tae-jin couldn't stay away without saying a word. We're in charge here now. Despite all the fear, Young-soo was not going to give up. He's angry. You could see it in his face. It can't be, what the hell? He thought and said. Damn, I got it. But his hand was frantically searching for something in his pocket. But this is my school. He kept talking in his head. Finally, Jong-soo took the brass knuckles out of his pocket and put it on his hand behind his back, showing with all his looks and words that we won. But thoughts. The thoughts in his head were completely different. How dare they encroach on my throne? Tae-jin, apparently not believing it himself, relaxed and began to speak in a cheerful tone. What, really? You admitted defeat, didn't you? Are we kings here now? But while Tae-jin and I were having fun chatting, Young-soo continued to plot revenge, calling us pigs in his head. Ahaha, we did it, now we're in charge. Jin told me. Yes, congratulations. I answered. But Young-soo didn't share our joy. How dare he bring this monster? The losers are miserable. There's only one boss here, and that's me. I got up with such difficulty. I can't back down. To no one. I won't give up this place. Finally, gathering all his willpower into a fist, Young-soo decided to show what he thought of us and screamed. In this school. I am the boss of this school. I'm the king here. And with all his strength, he swung his fist, which was wearing brass knuckles, in my direction. Since I had been relaxing for a long time and chatting sweetly with Tae-jin, accordingly, I did not notice the blow, unlike my new friend, who tried to warn me at the last moment. It was too late because Young-soo's fist was already counting my teeth nicely. The former king smelled blood and smiled, hoping that it was over. Meanwhile, I didn't even budge after his blow. When Jiangsu's hand dropped, he saw my face, completely whole, but very angry. Oh well. These fools always do that. Yingsu naturally couldn't believe it. Yes, it's impossible. How is it? I grabbed his fist, preventing him from returning his hand to its natural position. After that, he squeezed with such force that the brass knuckles bent, and the whole neighborhood heard the crack of his bones. After that, Yingsu fell to his knees in front of me. It's a pity that from the pain. Taejin's face, meanwhile, transformed. He was scared, although it's strange why, because we are friends with him. Did he bend steel with his bare hands? And gives? He thought. I didn't understand how or why, but Jiangsu must have finally gone off the rails. He blew himself up and started swearing at me. It didn't last long, my last blow to his face ended these sufferings. Now you can definitely breathe a sigh of relief, which is what Taejin. Wow. San did. You're just something. Just awesome. We're definitely in charge now. I can't believe it. You really beat them. We have the whole school under control. He shouted at me, and I turned on the insecure guy mode again. Oh, yeah. Congratulations. Taejin continued to rejoice. He rejoiced so much that it seemed as if he had beaten everyone. AI. That's just fine. Ahaha. We are kings. A few hours later, evening came. We had said goodbye to Taejin a long time ago, and I was walking down the street alone. Suddenly, the footage of today's fight began to pop up in my head, and I sighed. Finally, I'm really happy, continuing to think. Yeah. Really funny. They say he was a legendary leader. And as soon as he was lightly hit, he flew off a meter. A worthless bug. And Taejin is still sulking. Did he really want to be in charge? The leader of the school. Well, in general, an enviable position. However. I stopped and looked up. Some kind of it. It's too small a position for me. It was the middle of the night outside, and only the light shone from my window at home. I was lying on the bed. I still couldn't get to sleep. I have experienced too many emotions during this day. The flow of thoughts still did not stop. Is that all? Is this really what I dreamed of? Become a boss at school. Too easy. It was like a fight in kindergarten. Suddenly, pictures of a famous hero popped up in my head. I would also like to become like him. I also want to become famous all over the world. That's just not a hero. I was at home for a few days thinking about everything that happened that day. But one day, I decided to visit the school. Because of the flow of thoughts at night, I didn't get enough sleep and yawned all the way. Damn, do I really have to go to school like this? And what should I tell the teacher about my absenteeism? My yawn was interrupted by Taejin suddenly appearing. Hey San. Did you just come in? And are you an exemplary student? Ahaha. And where have you been for a few days? Didn't even answer the phone. I'm worried about you. Falling into a stupor, I answered. I didn't do anything special. But in my head I thought of something else. Why is he making a friend of himself? And, by the way, Jiansu Sunbae left school. Now this school is completely in our hands. He stunned me with such news. But I understood what he was leading to. How could I forget? He doesn't need me, but my strength. Taejin kept telling me the latest news. What are we going to do now? By the way, this schoolboy has been behaving abominably lately. Now Chansu is gone, and they don't care about anything. Those bastards. Can you deal with them? I thought it was a bad idea, telling him that it would be superfluous. Suddenly, on the way to school, our sweet conversation was interrupted by some bully who caught Jin's shoulder. Everything would be fine, because the big guy even apologized. But Taejin, apparently, went completely off the rails, counting heavily on me. Damn, it hurts. Hey, you, stay where you are. Come here, you bastard. No one would have tolerated such an attitude towards himself, and turning around, the bully made an evil grimace. What? What did you say? You told me that. As soon as the bully turned around, I saw beads of sweat begin to trickle down Taejin's face. Oh. Kim Youngjun? I immediately realized that my friend knew this man. Aren't you Young Taejin from Yongsan School? Said the bully. Apparently, this is some kind of important person, or a strong one, because Taejin's whole fuse was taken off by hand, and he began to apologize. Who is he that Taejin talks to him so respectfully? I thought. The big guy approached my friend and began to pour out questions. What have you been doing lately? I often began to hear about you. The difference in size between them immediately became noticeable. Taejin started awkwardly trying to get out of the dialogue. Yes, like this? Nothing like that, of course. Suddenly, Kim started openly threatening Jin. Be careful. And then you know me, because I can send you to the hospital. Then he noticed me. And who is this little one next to you? Did you start extorting money from children? Tae-jin, considering that the threat had passed, decided to introduce me as his friend. I, still not having learned to be sure, greeted him, but my face looked as if I had seen the most terrible villain. Our eyes crossed. Apparently considering that I was not worth his attention, Kim abruptly turned around and began to leave. Okay, rascal. Behave yourself. I went. Suddenly I noticed that Tae-jin relaxed and decided to ask him. What is it? Why are you walking straight in front of him? Who is he that you are so afraid of him? And Tae-jin began to explain. Don't you know him? Oh, yeah, you don't really know anything about the gangster world. It's dead bear Kim Yong-jun. He's a bear from the young team. He's from a team of heroes. Tae-jin said. Who are the young? This is a team of young teenage heroes. They are more focused on crimes committed by young people. Of course, they are not as strong as adult heroes, however. This is still a team of superhumans who surpass the strength of an ordinary person. Young heroes? So he's a hero too? I asked because I didn't know anything about them at all. We continued walking to school and Tae-jin continued talking. Well, yes. You're kind of superhuman, too. By the way, can I ask you something? And you? Can you defeat the hero? It was an interesting question, the answer to which I would like to get myself. How strong are these heroes? If you look at the respawn, it doesn't look like an ordinary human force. Will I be able to defeat the hero? The main headquarters of the heroes. The man we just met decided to visit the headquarters respawn. It's me, the bear. He told the main character of humanity. Oh. Misha. How? What are the fates here? Said respawn. Yes, I came to see the blue cat. But if you're busy, I'll come back another time. The bear said uncertainly, but respawn allowed him to come in. At the same time, the superhero himself was sitting on another person, they were fighting. I just decided to teach a lesson to a lousy dog. So you say you're looking for a kitty? Respawn spoke too relaxed, as if he was lying on the bed and not fighting with some villain who threatened to kill him. In fact, it turned out to be not a villain, but another hero who decided to face off with respawn. With a few light movements, he appeared on top of the respawn and made a painful hand grip, after which he told the bear where the cat was. Entering her office, the cat immediately asked. Did you bring the investigation report? The bear confirmed it. Nothing has changed. The girl continued. The leaders of the schools are still the same. And nothing has changed in the gangs themselves. Said the cat. After that, they started a dialogue. Yes, they fight anyway, these schoolchildren. Says the bear. Don't forget, you're a schoolboy too. The cat answers. Is it possible to compare me with them? The bear asks. Well, what makes you different? The cat retorted and was suddenly taken aback. So, wait. Has the leader changed at Yongsan school? Wasn't Jiangsu the boss there? Although it is clear, his character is disgusting. But he is not one of those who is inferior to his peers. The bear confirmed her conclusions. Well, he bullied a lot, so the kid finished playing. The cat looked at who became the new boss and was surprised. Ying Tae-jin. What? Is he a first-year student? The bear replied. Well, to tell the truth, I was surprised too. Then I told the cat not to worry about this school. The cat, in any case, broke through the information and, no matter how the bear assured her, took this school seriously. Since the bear didn't care about these things, he decided to invite a beautiful girl on a date, but the cat broke off all his plans, insisting to take the Yongsan school seriously. Then she threatened to kill him if he was disrespectful to her again. The elite gym, with a lot of exercise equipment, was illuminated by the sun, whose rays fell through the windows, but who knows what is happening in the locker room. A huge bodybuilder, posing with his muscles, asked the bear. What? Did you say that to the kitty? And you're good, you survived her beatings. The bear was confused by the big man's words, and perhaps not by the words. Stop it. Can't you be a little more serious? Quickly throwing on a t-shirt so as not to embarrass the bear, the bodybuilder sat down on the bench and began to swing his biceps. Do you like the blue cat so much? He asked. And he began to tell her that one day he involuntarily hugged her after a meeting. No matter how excited the bear was, such an event, but the demonstrated golden tooth by the bodybuilder, as well as 4 broken ribs, cooled him down. Just because of one hug, a cat crippled such a big guy. It turned out that the bodybuilder is the strongest in terms of physical strength, as well as the strongest hero among all. The bear was interested in many questions from the big man. But the most interesting was, and who is stronger than Ale or a cat? After that, the bodybuilder began the story. Well, here Ale wins, it's obvious. He's weaker than me, but not by much. He combines the features of an ideal hero: strength, intelligence, courage and determination. He got the title of the strongest hero on the planet for a reason. Further dialogue came to the fact that it was not possible to find out the strongest hero. It is impossible to say for sure who is stronger in one-on-one combat, since everyone has their own strengths and everyone is strong in their own way. The bodybuilder is tired of this dialogue as it distracts from training. Since the bear has not trained for a long time, as well as the fact that he is not an ordinary person, the bodybuilder threw weight on the barbell and told the bear to do 10,000 repetitions. Which the bear himself, of course, was not happy about. After all, after these exercises with a bodybuilder, the bear could not engage in his heroic activities for a whole week. I stood in front of the mirror and watched the changes. It's been 3 months since I became superhuman. And my body also began to change. First of all, I got muscles. Maybe we should go to some competition? But it seems there are also problems with controlling emotions. The vein is already swollen. I said, looking at my vein. Actually, I've always been patient. Wiping my head after a shower, I heard the sound of news from the TV. Breaking news. The villains disrupted the 17th Congress dedicated to the unification of the North and the South. According to reports, the villains who disrupted the Congress in Pyongyang belong to the VN group. In turn, the heroes from the Defenders group who were supposed to guard the event. I didn't listen to the end. Pulling the mask over my face, I started talking to myself. Why did they set their sights on this Congress of no interest to anyone? VN, yes? A den of villains. I would like to visit. Maybe it's time to come up with a villainous name for yourself? And as for school life, I tried to avoid her. Once again, after seeing high school students beating someone, I was invited to their company. San. Where are you going? We're going out for a drink here. Will you come with us? Yes, San. Let's go together? And? This asshole hasn't passed out yet? Excuse me. The guy they were beating squeaked. Looking at this, I remembered the very day when I was beaten and gained strength. It was unpleasant. It hurt my pride, and I didn't want to stay there. He didn't prepare in any way. And he paid for this decision very quickly. Oh, there are more hooligans. I noticed a rather large group of hooligans running around the corner. It's like they're gathering for me. Let's see how much money is in their pockets. Just the mood was lousy. How well everything turned out. But suddenly, something went wrong. A bully who recently ran into the alley suddenly flew out of it, as if he was thrown by something or someone. Hey. But I haven't done anything yet. Why did he fly like that? What's going on there? Do I have telekinesis or what? Or is it? Before I could finish, I saw him. I warned you, you'll do business again and you'll be finished. Your club is closed from today. Said the masked man holding some poor guy by the collar. Did he scatter them all? The leader of the group of heroes is young. Suddenly one of the hooligans shouted at the top of his voice. Clover. Why are you so? What have we done? Suddenly the masked man turned his gaze on him. You really don't get it? Yesterday's stabbing at the Gangnam Club. Didn't you start it? This? The bully was taken aback. What kind of reaction? You're not good at pretending you don't understand. Suddenly, another bully will appear from behind the masked man. Swinging his stick, he shouted. I ordered them to do it. The hero abruptly dodged the blow and blocked the stick. She broke down like she was a toy. It's impossible. Said the bully looking at the piece of stick in his hand. Oh, you assholes. Why are you all the same? After these words, the bully received a strong kick in the chest. And his partner seemed to have decided to avenge his friend, but it was not there. With an elegant leap, the hero knocked him out as well. Pathetic hooliganism. I warned that I would not tolerate armed attacks. Clearly the girl who was hiding behind the mask spoke down. Looking at all this, I thought. What's wrong with her? She just flew up 3 meters and broke a stick with her bare hands. She what? A hero? At that moment, she sensed my presence. Turning slightly, she asked. And? Another one? Are you from this club too? She asked, but immediately made a negative conclusion. Yes, it seems not. The clothes are different. What are you doing here? She asked, looking at me. I, for some reason, felt a tremor in my knees. She's a hero. We must run. We must run. I'm not ready for heroes yet. With these thoughts, I rushed to run, but I did not manage to run far. With a light movement, she caught up with me, running along the next wall. Hey, where are you in such a hurry? She asked questions directly to the raid. Are you that unknown black mask? Are you taking money away from a hooligan? My eyes widened in surprise. How? How did she know? But there was no time to think. Get it? She shouted, swinging her fist. Easily dodging her blow, I prepared for the next one. Now her eyes widened. Dodged. Such words could be read in her eyes. This was followed by a kick, which I also successfully dodged. Ugh. Tough, I thought. Looking at the girl, I continued to think. Really a hero. She's too fast. She was clearly analyzing me, too. He's not that simple. The girl thought. He was able to dodge my attacks as much as twice. He definitely saw my attacks. In all seriousness, she asked. Are you superhuman? I didn't expect such a question. And I thought that something bullies get too much. A simple passerby would not be able to do such a thing. My name is Clover. And who are you? Heck. I said out loud. But the girl continued. I'm sorry that I attacked so sharply at the first meeting. You're not a hero, are you? I fell into a stupor, but she kept talking. You can see by the look that he is not a hero. You are definitely not a hero, but it is also difficult to call a civilian or a villain. But if you choose, are you more of a villain? Listening to her, I finally lost control. Oh. Yes. I am the one who dreams of becoming the main villain of the planet. Fantastic, beautiful, wildly promising rising star of the world of villains. I shouted, after which I even had shortness of breath. She was clearly taken aback by this answer. Yeah. I see. That is, a villain, right? Good. She said, pushing her foot forward and taking a fighting stance. Since you've introduced yourself, let's start playing our roles. Hey. What? Stop. Go ahead. She said, and attacked me. Dozens of attacks simultaneously flew straight at me. She was waving her fists like a madwoman. Even though I was dodging everyone, her speed was amazing. And at this moment in my head. What the fuck? Out of the blue. What the hell? If you're a hero, then you can do anything? What kind of look does she have? She really wants to kill me. Yes, and so fast. Fast? Wait, are we really fighting? I can quite dodge her attacks and at the same time reason in my head. If you think about it that way, it doesn't seem to be fast. No, even slowly. Slower than it looks. I can see her vulnerabilities. Can I attack? Okay, we live once. Clenching my fist, I prepared to attack. However, she apparently noticed how I was preparing to strike and put a block. So the blow fell exactly into her hand, closing the gap in protection. However, I have invested a lot of effort. Even after blocking the blow, she flew away for a couple of dozen meters and crashed straight into the wall, which cracked with tension. Crouching on one knee, moving away from the blow, the girl coughed. I was experiencing a mini holiday. I got it. It worked. I really managed to hurt the hero. Meanwhile, in the girl's thoughts. Damn. I already thought that my arm would fall off. What kind of punch does he have? Do I really have to use this? Subtly, she put the ring on her finger and stretched out her other hand, on which the watch was visible. You're not bad. She said, pulling on the ring, which was followed by an incomprehensible cord, red in color. Magic? String magic. Brandishing her new weapon, she kept talking. Darkness ordered me to use it only against notorious criminals and super villains. And you're definitely one of those. So don't blame me. The situation has escalated. This is a serious matter. Then. I thought about it. The girl running at me shouted. String magic technique. Embrace the snake. A string went through my body. Heck. It hurts. I shouted. How painful. But in the nude I was somewhat shocked. It's the first time I've felt pain since I became superhuman. The girl was also a little shocked. Does it hurt? This technique is capable of cutting metal. And he says it just hurts? Then let's try it. Makara. She screamed, and an iron cord wrapped around my arm. It won't be so easy to win. She said. But we'll take your hand instead. Ah. I shouted when she pulled on the end of the fishing line. In theory, I should have been left without a hand. But something didn't work out. The cord just went deeper into my clothes. The girl did not understand what was happening. In her head she was thinking. What happened? The hit was perfect. Why didn't he even move? Ah. It hurts. I thought. Why are you doing this to me? What did I do? Grabbing the end of the rope around me, I easily broke it off. She clearly hadn't expected this. My weasel can withstand even a dinosaur, and he just picks it up and tears it like a thread? But she had no time to think. Grabbing my end of the rope, I forcefully pulled her towards me. From which the girl, like a worm on the end of a fishing rod, flew to me. Swinging, I prepared for the blow. I wanted to catch her on the approach. But she reacted, too. Why is he so strong? Scaly snake, a protective technique. A barrier appeared in front of her. Well, it doesn't matter. Without stopping the attack, I passed through her barrier as if through glass and struck. She flew to the end of the alley and crashed into the wall. Looking at my scratched hand, it hurt me. Damn. I also ruined my jacket. The girl was still on her feet, though already with difficulty. Coughing, she pondered. Hey. That's it. Glancing at me, who rushed to the attack, she made a conclusion. This opponent's opinion is in the teeth, I should have run right away. How could I not understand this? I'm still a long way from them. Meanwhile, I was running at her with a willingness to strike. Wait. What am I doing? The fist moves by itself. The blow landed squarely in her stomach. Flying into the wall, she fell unconscious. Heck. It's bad. I was too worried. Did I kill her? Looking at the unconscious hero, I could not come to my senses until the end. I woke up only from the screams from the windows. What's that noise? We need to call the police. What if it's an explosion? They don't let you sleep. What? Isn't it a Clover? He's a hero. Why is he unconscious? Oh no. The hero is dead. Who killed the hero? Call the police. No. Call the heroes. Stop. Who is that there? He killed her. Without waiting for the police, I crouched down, preparing to jump, and a second later, I was no longer in this alley. By the light of the moon, I was jumping from other people's eyes. The condition is disappointing. Numerous fractures of the ribs, jaw, arms and spine. In addition, there are multiple hematomas all over the body. But the main problem is that the broken ribs touch the internal organs. This conclusion was made by the doctor. The hero was lying on the operating table, covered in bandages and bandages. One of the heroes watching her spoke up. The Clover is in such a state. Her skills could match the strength of adult heroes. On surveillance cameras from the scene, the silhouette of the attacker is visible. But it was too dark and the quality wasn't the best, so it didn't really help. The girl who was standing next to me answered. Hey nah. Who did this to you? Hey nah. Suddenly a man burst into the room. What the already standing heroes were not too surprised about. Oh, is that you, Youngjun? Bear. The bear came up to the glass and practically stared through it at the unconscious wounded girl. How so? Hey nah. What happened? What a bastard dared. He yelled, and his veins began to swell as if he was gaining rage by the second. Don't worry, his partner answered him. Experienced doctors work here. We should have been there. The bear barked. Suddenly the girl handed him the phone. Bear, answered the phone, it's L. Damn. Picking up the phone, he put it to his ear. Yes, it's a bear. I'll be blunt. A voice came from the receiver. Any revenge is forbidden. Despite the state of the Clover, no one can act arbitrarily. But the bear wanted to object, but he was immediately refused. Listen. Instead, I allow searches. A search party of 2 people. If you find a suspect, report to us immediately. Roger that. With lowered eyes, the bear replied. Good. The voice continued. At such moments, you really are like a bear. You can't lose your temper. Yes. Thanks. Are you okay? The partner asked. Yes. Al is right. The bear replied. The guy with purple hair. I kept looking at the Clover. And then he said. Hey nah. Don't worry. I'll deal with everything. In the meantime, you rest. Meanwhile, in the office of the E-man dialed the number on the phone and called. A voice came from the phone. Ah, Al. I'm busy, why are you calling? Haha. Sorry, I was just worried. Where are you now, Respol? In VN, this slippery guy slipped past all the traps and escaped. Well, yes, he's not an ordinary opponent, he's not so easy to catch. Al answered. Isn't it too hard? Meanwhile, he was looking at the reward papers. List of rewards. Nickname. Hello man. Name. Person. Reward rank. S rank. Don't worry. A voice came from the receiver. Everything is under control. Because of the traps I set, he spent a lot of effort. He is being followed. Hunting for this dog is even fun. Haha. Excellent. But if it gets too dangerous, leave immediately. Leave? Are you kidding? I've set up such traps. It took me 2 years to do all this. 2 years. If I lose him now, I won't be able to catch him. I have to do it. Well, yes. Since you are so prepared, you need to finish the job. In general, I am waiting for good news. Haha. Good. After these words, he hung up the phone. Sighing heavily, Al thought about it. Meanwhile, America. Texas. There was a huge explosion, and in its center stood a man with a kind of sword sticking out of his hands. A villain of the rank of A Mantis. Respawn? He shouted. The soldiers firing at him panicked. Heck. How do we catch him? Where is the support? I don't know. I've run out of projectiles against superhumans. We're going to lose like this. Ah. There was a light and Mantis was right between the soldiers. He's here. Fire. But even before they had time to aim, the soldiers were defeated. He destroyed them as if they were made of paper. The commander, who was watching this, became worried. What a monster. Where is the hero? Where is the hero who was supposed to come? The soldier stuttered and replied. They say he's almost there. Footsteps were heard. Ugh. Ka. So much dust, wow. Stop talking. Confrontation with adult villains is nothing compared to the activities of a teenage hero. Such a meeting before the debut as an adult hero. Don't be silly. I will immediately become more popular. The two heroes were heading towards the battlefield. The hero of the Guardians. Combat Instructor K2. The hero of the Guardians. Goes to the rank of an adult hero. Pocahontas. This is a dangerous hero of rank A. If we hesitate, our heads will fly off our shoulders. The instructor noticed. Yes. Here you are a bore, one continuous grumbling. The girl answered. Did you want to die? Finally, the commander noticed them. Oh, you've come at last. I'm sorry I'm late. The instructor answered. We got a message so suddenly. What is the situation? 2 regiments have already been destroyed. 1 armored division is on the verge of destruction. I didn't think an A-rank villain was that strong. The commander shouted. So this is Mentis. Didn't Respawn catch him in Korea? The instructor was surprised. We were unlucky, the commander replied. The vehicle that was transporting him was struck by lightning. The holding sphere was destroyed. Wow, the girl was surprised. The driver should buy a lottery ticket. I wish I could say that, but that bastard killed the driver. He's very strong. Take care of yourself, Colonel. Let's go, Coco. With these words, they headed to the battlefield where Mantis dealt with the soldiers. Get ready, Coco. We are acting according to the plan. The instructor said. You better watch yourself, the girl replied. Mantis noticed the approaching heroes. Purple sword. A weapon with 2 blades and a red glow appeared in the girl's hands. The instructor also drew his weapon. Jack-o'-lantern. His fist was charged with blue energy. They rushed at the enemy, who was already ready to take the fight. A fight broke out. The colonel, who was watching her, just couldn't believe his eyes. Wow. Wow. When suddenly. And. He noticed a silhouette. It was Mantis. Sitting right in front of the colonel, he held the head of the girl in his hand. Oh, it's even funny. Do you really think you can stop me like that? The colonel was in complete shock. He didn't understand how Mantis could destroy 2 high-ranking adult heroes so quickly. Their gazes crossed and sweat began to flow down the colonel's face. It seemed at that moment he realized that his life had come to an end. Mantis himself jumped down and walked forward at a leisurely pace. There was hell against his background, in the literal sense of the word, and only one word fell from the mouth of Mantis. Gregori. Meanwhile, I was sitting at home and did not believe what was happening. Everything seemed somehow unreal. I really fought a hero. And even defeated him. It turns out my strength really exceeded my expectations. The battle scenes began to pop up in my mind. It was cool. A completely different feeling, unlike fights with hooligans. It was like a dream. And this is a feeling of catharsis. It was unforgettable. Without dwelling on it for a long time, I quickly put on a jacket. We need to go collect money. I will think while I earn my living. I was thinking about where I should go and Hong was on my mind. Suddenly I was stopped by a stream of thoughts. Literally, I just had a run-in with a hero. Suddenly they're looking for me. Can you rest today? I thought, holding the door handle with my hand. No, since I'm going, then it's worth going there. Moreover, I have always wanted to go there and most likely there will be no heroes there. By the words there and there, I mean the area called VN. If I had known then that this decision would change my whole life. A long time ago, Korea united, but the joy of this news did not last long. The authorities of the North and South pursued their own interests. This has created a huge gap between rich and poor, which led to huge social problems. This caused an explosion of discontent, which the citizens could no longer contain in themselves. Korea, which became infested with villains and criminals, became a country of lawlessness that no one could control. The country that collapsed because of crimes was revived by the Knights of Justice, in other words, heroes. However, the villains who enjoyed their freedom couldn't just leave it like that. The villains, unable to withstand the counterattacks of the heroes, headed for a mountainous area, poor and harsh. Because of too many villains, the country has abandoned this territory. It became known as the Blue Hell. Entering there meant death. This place is a huge gem plateau. Currently, the plateau is administered as a walled territory independent of the country. It is connected to the world by 4 gates. Soldiers guard the region around the clock. Meanwhile, the interest of tourists. Blah, blah, blah. I was sitting at the table and reading about all this in a book called Secrets of the World. I'd go there, but it's probably not the best idea. That's what I thought once, when I didn't know who I wanted to become, but now I was standing right in front of the gate. There was no limit to my surprise. Wow, I thought. This wall is really powerful. It was difficult to describe the height of this structure. Even the walls of the Titan's attack can't compare to this one. Is this an information sheet from the plateau itself? I wondered when I came to the sign on which 2 warnings were written. First, residents of the plateau should attach a locator when going outside. Second, anyone can enter the plateau, but there is no legal protection inside the plateau, and the state is not responsible for everything that happens inside the territory. These warnings sound cruel. Then I shifted my gaze to the entrance, which was guarded by 2 soldiers with machine guns in their hands. Going in there at night like this would be too suspicious. So I started looking for a way to get there unnoticed. Without thinking twice and calling myself a fool, I crouched down deeper and jumped straight into the sky. From above, the wall didn't seem so big, I could even see the blue hell from the inside. Just a few seconds later, I was already in place, landing gently. There was no limit to my anticipation. I'm finally in a place where I can become the most powerful villain. Everything seemed beautiful to me. It seems to be ordinary trees around, but for me it was not so. Although, it's really beautiful here. I am sure that if this place had been made a national park, there would have been no end of people. Going deeper inside, I saw buildings that look like they are about to fall apart. It's amazing how you can live here. But, looking around, I saw a large crowd of people. They don't look like district punks here at all. Everyone's faces are like the villains from the comics. I'm definitely not going to collect money here. Walking through the blue hell, I still couldn't figure it out. It's a village, or it's a forest, or even a city. I thought it was very dangerous here, but so far everything seems to be fine. Everyone looks scary, but so far no one has climbed. There's a special atmosphere here, and the views are pleasant. You have to come from time to time. And at this time, while I was walking, in the same area, Respol, one of the most important characters in the world, was chasing the villain. Suddenly, the idea came to me to return home before it was too late. This thought was interrupted by just the same Respol and the villain, but all I managed to notice was only silhouettes. I didn't even immediately understand who it was. Since I was walking next to the wall and was about to leave, the villain, who was being chased by the hero, crashed into it. There was no living place on him, he was barely breathing. "Are you okay?" I asked in a slightly trembling voice and noticed a wound in the chest area, but the villain did not answer me. Pretending that everything was in order, I tried to leave this place in a hurry. Having already begun to say goodbye to the uncle with red hair and turning in the other direction, I had no time to take a step when another person appeared in front of me with the words, "What a slippery type." Naturally, I recognized this person, so my eyes widened, but he clearly did not notice me. "I didn't think you'd get here." Wiping the blood from his face, the red-haired, wounded man said. "All of course, person." Respol answered him. Meanwhile, I stood in a daze, hoping to quietly leave this place, and there was only one name in my head. Respol. "Well done, Gai Tae. Great job, boss. I'll finish the rest myself." Ho ho. He has no strength to occupy. Thanks to Gai Tae. See you tomorrow. A man was wiping the floors in a restaurant and talking to himself. So another great day has passed. Hey, I'd rather finish and go home to buy a beer. Suddenly, the restaurant door opened. "Oh, sorry, we're already closed," the man said and then turned around and looked who came. "You," he said out loud. "Long time no see," said the man who came in. "Jian Jiangsu. It's you?" The employee was surprised. A couple of minutes later, he was already cooking noodles for him. And a moment later, the noodles were already waiting for their owner. "Well, that's it. Done. Try." A masterpiece from Guy T on which a lot of effort was spent. This is noodles for real men. Even though I am an assistant chef now, I will become the best chef very soon. The man tried the cooking. "Ha. How delicious is it?" the cook asked. "Know that it is an honor to be my first client." Putting the chopsticks on the table, the visitor turned away and said. "Horror, Ryachevo." "What?" the cook shouted. After a while, they were already standing on the street and talking. "How's work going?" "Every day is like the apocalypse." "You seem to like it," the visitor said with a smile. The great Guy Tay himself became a cook. I was surprised. "Oh, come on," the cook replied. "Cook is too big a word for me. The reality is like this. I got out of the narrow corridors of the school, and now the world seems so spacious to me." Suddenly the visitor asked. "Do you hate me? I kicked you out like a coward." "You hate it?" the cook asked in surprise and added. "John Su, if you think about it. Then you were right. You called me a bully back then. I thought otherwise, but in the end it turned out that way. All hooligans are like that, only now I've come to my senses. You see, I was right." The visitor replied with a satisfied expression. "What a freak. Are you bragging now? You said yourself that I'm right. Okay, I'll go, I have things to do." "Are you leaving already? Where are you in such a hurry?" "I'm sorry I called your cooking a piggy. I wish you to become the greatest chef in the world," John said as he left. "Why are you so embarrassing?" "Right then, we'll go have a drink with you. If there's time," he replied. "Definitely not in the near future. I have to kill this monster in order for everyone to survive." At the same time, Rispol caught up with the villain, and now he, person, and I were standing near the fence wall. Taking a little breath from the chase, Rispol began to speak. "You really deserve credit for getting here. But now you're finished." The heavily wounded villain was lying with his back against a wall. I was shocked. Rispol. It's definitely him. For a second, I thought about my humiliating past. And my body refused to move. Rispol continued. "A little more, and you really are finished. Now give up." He wanted to say it, but he didn't say it. Noticing me, he turned his head and said. "A child? What are you doing here? Run away from here, it's dangerous here." I was mumbling and couldn't pull myself together. That bastard doesn't even remember me. Then suddenly he remembered. "Stop. This mask. Wasn't it you I saw in Seoul? How did you end up here? Do you live here?" I was trying to squeeze out the words. "Me too. Me too." The villain. But I said it so indistinctly that it was difficult to understand the meaning. Letters do not bind into words. A pitiful sight. I remembered what I was like before becoming a Superman. And I felt uncomfortable. "We'll talk later." Cut off the Rispol. Leave quickly. This is not a place for children. All his attention was focused on the villain who was lying against a wall. I'm not a child," I shouted. "What? I can't hear." Turning around, he repeated the words. "Baby, get out of here." At that moment, a knife flew into the Rispol. Naturally he noticed it. "Ha. You and Prada have nothing left since you throw such things." Breathing heavily, the villain replied. "Well, kill me already." "Good." Rispol answered. "I was going to anyway." I gathered my thoughts and said a little louder. "Rispol. Don't ignore me. I'm a villain too. I'm not a child." "Yeah. Me too." But he just covered me with his hand and said. "Baby." I understood. "Now hide behind me. It's dangerous here." Physical strength and pride were not proportional to each other in my body. Even a weak person can have a huge sense of self-worth. Despite the good intentions of Rispol, my conceit was greatly hurt. Suddenly that dark voice sounded in my head again. "Ha ha ha ha." He laughed with me. "Garbage. A title suitable for a coward like you." "Shut up," I said to the voice in my head. "Who called me a coward? Then what are you afraid of?" The ominous voice caused fear. "Pull out that arrogant hand of Rispol. Do you want to continue playing the victim? The victim that the heroes save? What? Never. I don't want." "But, you pathetic bastard," a voice shouted. "Coward. Garbage. What, will you run away with your tail between your legs?" "No." What do you know? I tried to retort, but my voice was unshakable. You're scared. You're afraid of him. Damn garbage. You're wasting my power in nowhere. Shut up. It's time to get ready. What's wrong with me? We need to calm down. Pull yourself together. Concentrate. That's my voice. If I get ready, I won't hear it anymore. Damn weakling. The voice shouted even louder. I'll have to do everything myself. What the hell? I'll show you what real power is. Respol, who was standing in front of me, once again tried to protect me. Baby, wait for me for now. I'll take you home when I've dealt with him. I'm sure he won't attack you. But just in case. Suddenly he felt something. Something dangerous is behind you. What? But after a moment, my hand pierced his chest. Pieces of flesh and blood flew to the ground. And? What for? The hero said in surprise. Respol couldn't believe what had happened. The child, who only occasionally flashed in the news about the skirmishes, now pierced his chest. The hero began to cough and through spitting with blood, was able to squeeze out the word damn. Person, the villain who was sitting against a wall, opened his eyes wide, apparently he didn't believe it either. I was still standing with my hand in the chest of the Respol, but it didn't last long. Suddenly, a powerful blow to the face sent me flying far away. A huge column of dust rose into the air. I was fired like a cannon. Respol fell to his knee. The wound turned out to be really fatal even for such a hero. His thoughts were disordered. A mortal wound. How stupid. I thought there was something strange about his presence here. I was too distracted by person. Not happening. How could I not react until I was pierced through? Even if I was too careless. That's what Respol was thinking at that moment. Then he said. Damn. He was superhuman. But before he could finish, huge claws appeared from behind the rocks in the place where I flew away. They were more animal-like, or even demonic. Respol in person paid attention to this, waiting for what would happen next. And suddenly, in the dust that had not yet settled, a purple eye opened. The hero already familiar to us, namely a pink-haired girl in a mask, suddenly turned her attention somewhere. The girl sitting opposite her, with white hair and eyes, asked what had happened because she noticed the anxiety of the interlocutor. Also, a bodybuilder already familiar to us was sitting next to them. The girl in the mask decided to ask if her friends had heard any sounds, but the comrades did not understand what she was talking about. Listen, since you invited us to meet, can you take off your mask? Shouldn't we show ourselves to each other already? The big guy asked. Shut up. Do you have extra teeth? Only you mix alcohol and protein shake. Said the masked girl, who continued to sit and drink her drink with suspicion on her face. Hanel's house. One of the strongest heroes. He was standing in his bathroom and talking to the mayor of the city. Haha, yeah. Of course, I understand everything. Al started, but was interrupted. Exactly. It's crazy. Because of the darkness. The hero is a hero, but if darkness kills all criminals, as it is now, then what should the military and police do? He also belongs to Gregori, albeit unofficially, and 3 heroes of the War of the North are on his side. Yes, don't worry, I'll talk to darkness. Al answered. Rights? Only on you and hope. Thank you, L. We didn't have a dialogue with the Russian blue. I hope for you. Said the mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Don't worry and go to sleep. Al continued, but suddenly something caught his attention. At full speed, he jumped out of his apartment right onto the roof of the house. Standing on it and looking into the distance, his face was too scared. The mayor was also scared and asked what happened. At this time, apparently the hero was running to the rescue of the devil through the blue hell and muttering to himself. Damn. Why doesn't it come out? Did this hippie really run there? Oh, this scumbag will definitely mock. Suddenly, a noise in the sky caught his attention. Damn, I almost laid bricks, and these are just birds. He wished he could relax, but stopping abruptly, he wondered. What? Why are so many birds alarmed in the middle of the night? Maybe a fire? Respol and person were looking into the distance, where I was standing. Except my appearance didn't look human anymore. A black haze was coming out of my body, 2 horns had grown, and my eyes were purple. With my frightening gaze, I looked at them. Respol immediately began to assess the situation. A monster? Cannot be. Is it really a monster? How is this possible? Was this kid a monster? Or obsession? But this is too much. He wondered. That's exactly what person said. Why is there a monster all of a sudden? And this aura? I didn't let them think for a long time, jumping sharply towards the hero and the villain. Respol didn't even have time to react as I was right in front of him and tried to hit him in the chest. Still, it's not for nothing that he is one of the strongest heroes. It would be strange if he couldn't dodge a direct blow to the face. Damn. This is not the time to stand and think. He screamed and lunged for a counterattack, after which he hit me in the face. Apparently he hoped that his strongest blow would be able to do something to me, but without even stirring up, I began a series of numerous attacks. After that, he raised his hand, concentrating a huge amount of energy to attack. Respol was still able to evade this. Looking around, he saw a huge rift from my attack and wondered in his head. He just waved his hand. I won't be able to resist him. Then I decided to apply one of my techniques. A blow of justice. Respol raised his hand up and concentrated a strange blue aura, then launched it in my direction. The hit was right on the spot because I didn't even budge. Perhaps this attack would have killed someone else, but without even thinking, I immediately rushed at him for a new attack. At the same time, around my hands, and soon around me, the space began to distort. He didn't even wince, even though I touched him. Incredible durability. Respol shouted and applied a new technique. Iron Spirit, full protection. After that, a huge wall with the face of a demon came out of the ground, but unfortunately for him, I could not break it. I tore this wall like an ordinary leaf. And in the next moment, I rushed past the Respol, leaving him far behind, standing. To stand already without an arm up to the shoulder. A huge jet of blood sprayed in all directions from Respol's shoulder. I finally stopped and looked in his direction. The hero, gathering all his strength into a fist, grabbed a piece of the wall that he had created earlier and threw it in my direction with all his might. A huge column of dust and fragments of stones rose. It was already noticeable that Respol was moving with the last of his strength. He was coughing up blood. An injury incompatible with life, heavy bleeding, there is no way back anymore. And also an enemy. A real monster. He told himself. Coughing even harder, he already said in a voice. Apparently, this place will become my grave. Still, no matter how strong he was, the hero fell to one knee and continued to think. This monster is dangerous. I have never seen or heard of such a force before. We need to somehow convey the information to the others. Then he got up, he had no choice, because I was already heading in his direction. A little more and we'll all die. He thought. Suddenly, I disappeared from the place where I was standing earlier. Who are you, kid? Why are you attacking me? Respol shouted and continued. I didn't think my life would end here. It's all my fault. But it's too lonely a death. Catch the last gift of the monster. He shouted out the last words and the hero's emblem on his chest lit up. See this aura before you die. Kissason. After these words, everything around him lit up and the stones began to rise into the air. Of course, this did not stop me and I jumped in his direction. While I was flying, he used some other technique called manjinsak. After that, huge boulders began to fall on me. In just a few seconds, I was crushed by a huge pile of rocks and lay on the ground. It didn't take me long to get away. Under the huge pressure of boulders, I began to climb. He was able to stand up even after the blow. Incredible strength. But this is just a beginning. The hero thought and started shouting with all his might. Literally in an instant, even more stones were already hanging in the air. One of the stones was of incredible size, and with the words Manenta, Respol lowered his hand, and a huge number of boulders flew at me again. Except this time I didn't even fall, I just stood there. Did he survive even that? What is the limit of his powers? The hero thought, and I grinned with a smile. A smile that will make any person, hero or even demon shiver. Respol gathered the remaining strength in himself again and shouted. Flash. The biggest boulder that was hanging in the sky started falling on me. Once again, starting to distort the space around me, I turned a huge stone into a pile of rubble with a simple movement of my hand. This time, despair could be seen on Respol's face. Haha, it's crazy. There really are no more options. The remnants of my strength. The Lynx is probably coming here. If he fights this monster, he will die. He was talking in his head and raised his hand to the sky again. A blue aura appeared in the place where he was looking and pointing with his hand. We need to make sure that he doesn't come here. I did everything I could. Once again he thought, but these were his last thoughts because I was already hanging over him, with my hand raised to strike. Right before he died, he said out loud. Ugh. Maybe I should have run after the Lynx after all. After that, I cut the body of the Respol in half, diagonally. It was the end for one of humanity's greatest heroes. I stood over his body with a demonic smile. person, who was probably hiding somewhere, peeked out from behind the stone. All he saw was me standing on Respol's lifeless body. Cannot be. Respol is dead. What's going on here? He said, but it was unnecessary. I don't know how, maybe I heard it or felt it, but I noticed him and turned in his direction. The hero's face twisted into a terrifying grimace. After that, the demonic mode began to pass and showed my face. And? I asked while the mode was leaving. A second later, I was standing completely in my human form and said, "Are you still here?" I couldn't finish, apparently having spent all my strength, I just passed out and fell down without strength. The villain, seeing this, did not understand what had happened and just wondered. What the fuck? At this time, the hero, nicknamed Lynx, continued to run to help Respol when suddenly he saw a blue light, whose hero I killed, in the sky. Is that our hippie's signal? Has he caught person yet? Haha, damn it. So he was on the right track. But is it like the opposite direction to the tracks? Why is he calling me there? Maybe he's already caught it and moved out? That damn braggart. Well, since he did a good job, maybe buy him something. His guitar is 100 years old, at least, you can give him a new one. The hero Lynx spoke, continuing to run after the light of Respol, who decided to save his friend by spending the remaining strength on the so-called guiding star. Urgent news release. Tragic news has reached us. On the 7th, 31-year-old Mr. Kim was killed on the territory of the Blue Hell. Mr. Kim bore the heroic name of Respol. And more than once he saved our citizens in trouble. Many residents were shocked by the sudden news of his death. It is known that the funeral of Respol will be held in secret. While the presenter was telling the news, Respol's funeral was already in full swing. All the heroes gathered at his grave, standing in the rain. Even though Respol left us to join the Lord God, his courage and sacrifice will not be forgotten. We will live, keeping the memories of him in our hearts. May he find his peace in heaven. Amen. The priest sang, standing at the grave. Oh. How so? He's in a better place right now. How could this happen? The heroes who had already begun to disperse were talking. Only 3 of them continued to stand still. Suddenly, the bodybuilder banged his fist and shouted. Damn. How so? Respol could not have died. Could not. The woman with purple hair also supported him. You did a good job, Respol. Now you can rest. I'm sorry. When you were in danger, I was drinking I don't know where. Leave it to us. I will find your killer and he will pay for everything. Suddenly, 2 people appeared against the background of the bodybuilder. An elderly grandmother and a tall man. Oh, what is it? How could this happen to Respol? The woman said. These were Princess Rezin. Former hero, former member of the Hwoarang faction, one of the 3 heroes of the War of the North, the greatest hero of the 2nd generation, title. Heavenly Fireworks and Ban, hero, leader of the Hwoarang faction. It just can't be. How could Respol die? What happened? Ban wondered. Thanks for coming, Ban. Princess Rezin, I'm so ashamed. The big man said, to which the woman replied to him. Such is the fate of Respol. What's the point of blaming someone? Don't blame yourself. He probably knows it too. Keep an eye on the Lynx. He's having the hardest time right now. The bodybuilder confirmed her words. So it is, Lynx and Respol have been inseparable since childhood. Then please. There will be no help from an old woman like me here. The old woman said, but the big man supported her. Don't worry. Your presence alone gives us strength. The Lynx was the only one who continued to stand over the grave, no matter what. The bodybuilder came up to him and put his hand on his shoulder. Lynx, let's go. We have a lot to do. But the hero, as if he did not hear these words, he stood and blamed himself. A masked woman decided to join the conversation. What are you talking about? Stop talking nonsense. Why is it suddenly your fault? It's all because of me, I'm responsible for the death of Respol. I missed person, and Respol ran after him. Said the Lynx. The rest of the heroes just started supporting him because they had no other choice. Suddenly, the Lynx's fist clenched tightly, blood flowed from his eyes, and the veins on his face swelled. Respol's killer. I will definitely find him. He won't leave me. Necessarily. 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 While he was saying this, I was lying on the bed with a fever. The world was shocked by the news of the death of Respol. All the heroes of the world were furious. And there's nothing to say about Gregori. Even those villains who constantly got into trouble were afraid of Gregori's anger and tried to justify themselves by presenting their alibi at press conferences with journalists. Meanwhile, at the scene of the Battle of MANHWA in the Blue Hell, Darkness, the hero, studied the evidence. The man was wearing a strange mask with red inserts. He came to the scene of the battle, trying to understand what had happened. He saw all the cracks on the ground and understood that the battle was very fierce. Darkness began to reproduce the evening when Respol and Lynx chas person, but separated. Looking around the neighborhood, he reproduces everything that happened that night before my battle with incredible accuracy. Judging by the tracks, person had no strength. And Respol, in turn, has energy left. Respol and Lynx were together, so it's not surprising. Respol had 0 chances to lose, why? He told himself. When suddenly something distracted him and he turned around. He noticed more footprints that pointed to a third person, that is, to me, but only person knows about it. These are not the steps of a man who has studied hand-to-hand combat. Respol's steps. It seems that Respol was not afraid of him. Apparently, they were acquainted or Respol was not afraid of him. But the first blow. Judging by the bloodstains, Respol was badly hurt. Respol also responded with a blow. But why didn't he attack from the beginning? Respol defended himself possibly in this position. But Respol was already mortally wounded. And the opponent? What is this trail? It's definitely the same creature, but why does it seem like it's not? Apparently, he turned into someone else. The way Darkness reproduced a battle would have surprised any of the investigators. He took out an object similar to a phone, but this thing can measure the level of radioactivity. And the scale in this place was off the scale. High level of radiation. It's a monster. Also with such an incredible aura. Attack, defense of the Respol. But the enemy is strong. Tired and wounded, Respol could not touch the enemy. A blow of justice. The iron spirit. Even Kissison? The blows of justice of Respol and Hanel practically do not differ in strength. And Kissison is not inferior to a nuclear missile in its power. Judging by the kind of attacks he used, he wasn't killed, caught off guard. He fought to the end. The last blow. Respol is falling. And that bastard, too. Apparently, person took him away. Person's ally? No, he has no allies. Most likely, a chance meeting. Then why did he attack Respol? Judging by the fact that Respol did not attack first, the opponent was not a monster from the very beginning. Turning into a monster? But the monster does not become completely a puppet. Some questions. How interesting. Having learned everything in great detail, just by examining the place of the battle, Darkness began to go into the distance, continuing to walk through the blue hell, the emblem on the chest of the Respol. It contained a message that Respol wanted to convey to Gregori before his death. Dark hair. Black mask. Under 20 years old. Height 170. Transf. Dark-haired and wearing a mask? And so young. Respol was defeated by a teenager? It can't be. And it's also a word that I couldn't make out. Gregori sat and discussed the information received. Everyone was deep in thought. Transf. What did he want to say? Hanel thought about it. Transformation. The man who came into the office loudly declared. I think it said transformation. In an instant, all eyes were gathered on him. Dark. It's you? Where have you been all the time? Do you even know what the situation is now? Sure. The masked man replied. I stopped by the VH. On my way here. BH? Surprise appeared on the faces of all the sitting heroes. So you found out something? You must have noticed something. How to say? Dark replied mockingly. Quite an interesting picture. What? The Lynx asked furiously. The veins in his arm bulged, and he gripped the chair with force. Damn bastard. Did you seem interesting just now? He continued to yell in anger. Respol is dead. Respol? And you call that interesting? Are you interested, huh? What's wrong with you? What is the problem? Dark asked in surprise. Bastard. The Lynx yelled and was about to rush at Dark, but he was stopped. Fucking psychopath. Lynx. Calm down. He's always like that. Dark sighed. Oh, and why did you stop him? It would be a funny situation. Hanel raised his voice a little. Dark. Stop it. Don't you see what the situation is here? Oh, have I crossed the line? Since even the eternally calm Hanel is mad at me. I'm sorry if I offended you. I didn't mean anything bad. He just said that the battlefield looked interesting. After these words, the Lynx clicked his tongue and plopped back into the chair. And then he added. Tell me everything you know and get out of here. Sick bastard. Looking around in his pocket, Dark sighed again. I came to help, and in the end I was doused with verbal slops. You don't change Lynx. He fished a memory card out of his pocket and said. All the information is here. I will go. I have to leave before the Lynx attacks me again. Already heading for the exit, he heard Hanel's words. Dark, wait. The masked man turned around in surprise. Let's officially become part of the team and help us. We need your help. Is it possible? Dark asked in surprise. Wouldn't the dirty pigs from the management mind? The bell rang. Wait. Hanel asked Dark. Accepting the challenge, he spoke. Yes, Deputy Jang Hwansok. This is Hanel. Something happened? Oh Ale. I've heard about Respol. I am so sorry. Isn't this the first time I've called you myself? That's because I'm very busy. Hahaha. I hope you understand me. Yes, it's all right. Hanel replied without emotion. The deputy continued. Ha, you really are as kind as they say you are. You know there's an election coming up, right? I'm sure I've already heard. Haha. The Ale didn't betray any emotions. Yes, he replied, go on. And the deputy continued. Respol is very sorry, but the management does not want the matter to take a serious turn. And suddenly all this will become a hindrance for me in the elections. It's all got to be hushed up somehow. That's politics. When they elect me, and believe me, there are more such cases. But he was not allowed to continue. L seems to have lost his temper. Mr. Chan. Hey. What is it? Respol died. Our comrade. Our brother is dead. How can you talk about elections? What kind of cases? The deputy's voice faltered. Oh, no. That's not what I meant. But the Ale didn't stop. We are not in a position to forgive anyone right now. This time we'll figure it out in our own way. The deputy's voice was almost screaming. Ale? Hanel? Wait. But he didn't wait. The pipe was hung up. Dark, who was looking at this picture with surprise, suddenly said. Hanel, you look more like your old self today. Nice to see. Again without emotion, Hanel said. Well, in general. Dark, are you with us? There was silence for a moment. But after a second, Dark replied. Good. Let's work together. Thanks, Dark. Now. Let's catch this bastard. A little later on the grave of Respol. Dark stood in the light of the moon and peered into the crypt. Then, he fished a flower out of his pocket. After laying it on the grave, he went for information. It's been a long time since that day. I don't remember it, but they say I killed Respol. And my life has changed a lot. To begin with, I left school. Although the director was confused because I had good grades and in general everything is good at school. After signing the papers, I politely said goodbye to him and left. Even though the school was useless and didn't mean much, it was a bit of a pity to leave. That's really it now. So, what else do I have left? She was breathing heavily, apparently running as fast as she could to get here. I already know everything. She said. Are you leaving? Why? I said, confused. I'm just leaving. Far away. Ha. Then I'll leave school too. She answered abruptly like lightning. What? I didn't expect this. Why so suddenly? Joke. She replied. Everything is as usual. There was an awkward silence, but I decided to break it. Don't you have to go to class? Suddenly she spoke. Did you know that I'm actually an outsider? If it wasn't for you, I would never have had fun and laughed with the guys. I was a little shocked by her words. And? What? Are you making fun of me? You're so popular. I'm serious. She replied. I've always been alone. It seemed to me that having fun with classmates was childish. I'm also from a shelter. I do not know how old I am. Maybe I'm even older than you. Foster parents indicated only my approximate age, so it was not easy to make friends with the guys at school. Do I have to go to school? Boredom is mortal. I thought. Most of all, I hated the task for groups. So most of all it was obvious that I didn't fit in. I usually teamed up with those who stayed, hoping that they would turn out to be smart guys. It was also difficult for them with such a gloomy classmate like me, and in the end it turned out that I did not want to communicate with them. But actually, I was a little lonely. And then, I heard voices. What do you really say? Well, yes, but what's the big deal? She's a little bit of that. It's all right. And that was your voice. Listen. Have you already chosen your team? We don't have enough people. If you haven't decided yet, why don't you join us? And I wanted to be on the same team with you. Good. I answered. There was concern in your words. So I thought we could be friends. Having fun with friends turned out to be nicer than I thought. And there was nothing childish about it. So I was able to make friends with the rest of the guys and became who I am now. Really? I thought about it. I didn't know that. Really? I asked. I don't even remember. I started liking Jean somewhere in the middle of the semester. Thanks. It came from her. I said in surprise. I really wanted to tell you this. Thanks. Thanks to you, my school life has become fun. Smiling, she told me this. Take care of yourself and don't get sick. Suddenly, I felt I had to say something. Jean, stop. Listen. Can I write to you? Maybe we can see each other again. But saying this, I understood that it was impossible. Must not. You can't write to her, for her own sake. Of course you can. I'll be waiting. Right. Smiling, she headed back to school. And I was left standing on the street alone. How did it happen? What did I want? Jun Chop texted me. Without me, Yoon Tae Jin's gang ended up in a hospital bed after getting a lull from high school students. I'm lonely. The strongest villain? Why do I need it? But you can't catch an arrow halfway through. Maybe I was too frivolous? I've been thinking about it. A little later, on the territory of BH Henham, it's too late, we've gone too far. The man who was almost killed by Respol was looking at me. The villain person. Oh, yeah. I answered awkwardly. Pull yourself together. He encouraged me. After all, you killed Respol, a great hero and a comrade of many other heroes. People like him can be counted on the fingers of the whole world. Now not only heroes will be looking for you, but also villains who want to make themselves known. Very uncertain, I confirmed. Yes, but… Person leaned a little closer. Yes, Henham, speak up. Will you still talk to me formally? I asked in surprise. Person just nodded and added. This is the only way to address Henham. Suddenly, the door opened and a man with pink hair and makeup on his face came into the room. Hey boss. We're all out of side dishes. I want an egg roll. Person looked at him angrily. Gamajan. Watch your tongue in the presence of Henham. Oh, how scary. He replied. Boss, buy some food. You are welcome. That bastard. It seemed that Person got angry and was about to get into a fight when suddenly. I'll buy it well. I answered. Henham. Person said irritably. You can't listen to all their whims. Hey, our boss is really the best. Gamajan shouted. Suddenly, there was a loud scream. Who dared? Who dared to drink my coffee? Another kid burst into the room. He was small, even shorter than me, and he screamed like he wasn't himself. Gamajan, was it you again? You were told to stay away from him, you damn villainous pig. In response to this, Gamajan only grinned. Shitri. Are you being rude again? You don't have any concepts at all. And not only concepts. And while they were sorting it out, Person brought me a cup. Henham, have some coffee. Ah, thank you. Speaking of which. It happened a few days after the murder of Repol. I woke up in an unfamiliar room. Oh. Head. Did I pass out? How did it happen? Suddenly, a voice was heard. Henham, are you awake? What? Henham? Where am I anyway? Surprised, I shook my head and immediately noticed the very type that Respol was chasing. How good that you woke up. Henham. Clearly not understanding what was going on, I decided to justify myself. I think you've got me confused with someone else. Me, Henham? I don't even know you. Suddenly the red-headed guy bowed. You saved my life. He shouted. From now on, I'll call you Henham and Dudu. And follow you implicitly. What? I froze for a moment. My brain couldn't digest the information. Stop. It can't be. It was you I saw in BH? Rising from a bow, he said. My name is Person. I grew up there and lived alone. Everyone here lives by the laws of the jungle, and I also live by them. But you saved my life. Clenching his fist, he shook. He was obviously honest. This is the first time I have received such care and help from anyone. You saved my life, and now it's in your hands. So I started living with Person. And soon. This is Gamajan. A mercenary hired for security. He may be crazy, but he's a specialist. He's definitely good at what he does. Hello, darling. He said when he saw me. Oh, I was so curious about who Person was telling me about. So it's you? Such a cutie. Right in my taste. A little hesitated, I answered. Ah, hello. My name is Kim-san. Glad to meet you. He seemed to freeze for a moment. Glad? Is that all? Yes, why? I answered honestly. Grabbing me by one shoulder, he happily said. Oh, baby, you're so innocent. Call me Hying. I'll take care of you. Suddenly, person flared up. Gamagen, are you completely crazy? Only later did I find out that Gamagen is a very popular villain. So, he joined us. And then there's Shitri. Can I help you with something? I asked person every time, and each time I got about the same answer. No, Henam, rest. And you can talk to me informally. I was surprised. I will try. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. A knock? I asked. This is the first time someone is knocking on this door. Are we waiting for someone? No. Person answered gloomily. Nobody even knows us here. Henam stepped back. Gamagen. I know. He answered and grabbed a knife. Lightly opening the door, person saw a small guy. Who are you? He asked. Henam, do you know him? I shook my head negatively. No. It's the first time I've seen him. Who are you? My name is Dr. Shitri. The guy introduced himself. And then he screamed. I've heard a lot about Mr. San. Mr. San. Let me join you. What? The three of us froze in place. After a while we were sitting in the lobby. The guy told me. My name is Dr. Shatri. I witnessed the battle of San and Respol. After that, I followed Mr. San unnoticed. What a powerful force and modest character. You are the one I was looking for. And I decided that it was necessary. Must I? I asked again. I will conquer this world. I want to give you this world, Mr. San. He shouted. What? I was in shock. So it was you who followed us everywhere. Person hissed. Aren't you an ordinary person? But the doctor kept talking. Mr. San. I have an extraordinary intellect. And because of this, the state and the heroes oppressed me all the time. But when I saw how Mr. San defeated Respol, I saw a new hope. Wow. Gamagen was surprised. What kind of oppression can there be in our time? But the doctor only got angry. I proved it. That Korea with Gregori is the strongest country in the world. Sneak attack the whole earth with nuclear bombs. And when war is declared, neutralize the whole world with the help of Gregori. But I was ignored. And I maybe because you're too young? I asked. But the doctor continued. Mr. San. This world has been rotten for a long time. Take me to yourself. Together we will change it. Gamagen jumped in. Oh, we don't like to be bothered. Leave. I'm talking to Mr. San. Don't get into the conversation. Damn pervert. Wow. Shouted Gamagen. Look at this. Boss, what are we going to do? Cut off the tongue, sew up the mouth, hang it on a tree and leave it? Don't say such scary things with that face. Yes, please. The doctor answered. What? I was surprised. Anyway, if Mr. San refuses me, I will have no hope. I'd rather just die than walk aimlessly around the world. Well, die, who's stopping you? Hahaha. The pink-haired man laughed. Person also intervened. Henam, Gamagen is right. He's dangerous just because he knows this place. I'll decide everything. Let's go outside. Or will you die here? He said. But I was becoming him. Stand. Kill? Seriously? You can stay here for now. You can't kill him. Have you heard? The doctor's eyes sparkled with happiness. Really? Thanks. Thank you very much. I will be devoted to you for the rest of my life. He said and immediately continued. There are 4 of us. Not bad. Then we will distribute Mr. San's legion like this. Gamagen whispered mockingly to person. Are 4 people already a legion? Tell me, did he overdo it? Maybe he has such a concept? Shut up. The doctor interrupted them. The composition is as follows. Mr. Person will be the bodyguard. He's not that stupid. Person thought. Gamagen is our main fighter. And I'm the commander-in-chief. Gamagen immediately objected. Oh, baby, and who appointed you commander-in-chief? It seems you underestimate us. How did you find out about us? Who sent you? The doctor only calmly replied. I graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. With honors at the age of 7. And I have 58 doctorates. Do you think with such a baggage of knowledge I can't find out something like this? We just stood in a stupor, all 3 of us. A real villain. For the first time I see pure evil. How can you get 58 degrees? Such thoughts were spinning in our heads. So it's settled. It remains to come up with a name. Great. I've decided. Now we will be called Seprum. Seprum? It means people who will change the world. What's your name, sir? Do we really need a name? Gamagen asked. Aha. Why be so wise? Person confirmed. But I was delighted. After that, we set up a house in BH and began to live together. Shitri said that it was better for him to live with us so that the heroes would not find him. It may be a dangerous place, but Shitri's neighbors are much more dangerous. Our days. Shitri is yelling at the top of her lungs. Hey. Are you lying around again? We would do something at least. Well, yes, for example, washing, I confirmed. Mr. San should rest. Added Shitru, addressing two of my subordinates. Do you want Mr. San to do everything himself? Is he always like this? Gamajan asked. Can we kill him on the sly? Person suggested. Then I'll go too. I declared. Mr. San. Suddenly Shitru called out to me. Can I talk to you for a minute? Oh, okay. We went into the hall. Mr. San. We need to pull ourselves together. As Person said, many enemies are aimed at you. Oh, yeah. Mr. San, you are surprisingly ill-informed. I just smiled. Ha, well, there is such a thing. After my words, he plopped the textbook in front of me. Then I will tell you about the heroes who pose a danger to us. The name of the textbook. Encyclopedia of Heroes. By Shitri. First of all, he began, Gregori. You know them. The strongest team of heroes in the world. From Korea. Next, the Keepers. The biggest team of heroes in the world. From America. We can say that 60% of all heroes are from there. Recently, 2 of their heroes died in Texas. And they're a little on edge. Next, the Knights of the Temple. The team from Israel is the strongest after Gregori. But the head will die from illness any day now. He did not prepare an heir, so everything turned upside down for them. They say the leader is called the Lion King. And he's almost as strong as Hanel. Next is Ultra Nippon. The team from Japan is not the strongest, but they are close to us geographically. And they don't like us very much. Why? I asked. This jerk killed the leader. And now they're looking for him. Person looked away, embarrassed. Haha. I didn't know that would happen. Now, you should know which of the Gregori you should be wary of. Since Respol is dead, there are 5 main members and 1 secret one left in Gregori. They can be divided into classes. Magic experts. Specialists in combat. And specialists in weapons. Ta damn. He opened the book, on the page where the heroes were distributed. There were even photos. Where did you get the pictures? There are always ways. To begin with, the leader. Hanel. Quite popular. Isn't it? A hero of incredible strength. In second place is the Russian Blue. No one in the world can compare with her in physical strength. Then the Red Lynx. Has trouble controlling anger. Master of Surveillance. Master Jin. Retired officer. He was the strongest in the world before the advent of the Russian Blue. Next is the Darkness. He is weaker than everyone else. But he is incredibly smart and makes his own weapons. And he is so belligerent that even other heroes whisper about him. And the last Esther. She is originally from the Knights of Harem. He has 12 summoning techniques. They are all about the level of Respol. Now do you understand the danger you are in? Yes. I think I understand now. Now the Lynx is the most dangerous. He was Respol's best friend, most likely he went off the rails. Good. I answered, standing up. I'll remember. Wait a minute. The doctor stopped me. As I said, the first and second number in Gregori is Hanel and the Russian Blue. However, this Darkness. If you suddenly meet him one-on-one, try to avoid a battle. Didn't you say he was weaker than the others? His fighting abilities are weak, but, like I said, he's incredibly smart. Be sure to stay away from him. In all his battles, victory was his. Whoever he's fighting. Therefore, be sure, if you suddenly meet him, run.